Hello, welcome back. This is Gary. Thank you for stopping by. As always, please subscribe and like the video as you like. It helps me out a whole bunch. And I'd like for you to meet my very best girl. This is Summer over here. I'm doing this right. This is Kiska. She's getting ready to go out to go. And it's kind of cold outside that day, so we dressed her up accordingly. Well, now that you got to meet my girl Kiska, let's jump on into it. Today's video is going to be the lack of education on society and how it affects us. And I'd like to go into that now. Well, but first, I've done some studying, and of course, lack of education leads to low literacy. It leads to dropping out at much younger ages, which is, of course, detrimental on our society. Kids need something to do. Without something to do, that leads to something else. If you are low literacy and you can't read very well, you're more likely to be unemployed, which, affects everything. You're less likely to get a good job, and you totally won't be able to be self-sufficient without any kind of education, and just dropping out. And of course, the low literacy, as I'm explaining to you now, which everything as part of this, you become the strain on society. More likely, you're going to need government help. You're going to need TAMF. You're going to need SNAP. You're going to need HUD or Section 8. The list goes on. You're going to need Medicaid or Medicare, or I believe it's Medicaid. So it just puts a big strain on our system, just with the lack of education. This is what's adding to the society of problems. You're more likely, like I said, to need government help, as well as you're more likely to be homeless, and that should scare every one of you. It is not fun to be homeless. It definitely messes with your mental state. You're obviously, you try to keep good hygiene when you can. It's a lot worse than camping when you're doing urban camping. It just never ends. And that cycle's even worse. Again, when you have lack of education, and if you have kids, your children are more likely to have lack of education, and the cycle will just keep on going. It creates a poverty. It just doesn't stop. The chance, like I said, of getting higher education, once you hit the poverty and once you're low literacy and lack of education, it just doesn't stop that cycle, as I said. Lack of education can also make you vulnerable to con men. You get gullible. It's easy to get scammed. Maybe you think a Ponzi scheme is good, or as such, whatever scheme it is, where they make you go out and get 10 more people so that you can make money off the 10 people, that's a scam. And it's the low educated people that get going in this. There is so much more out there if you could just get a good education, learn how to read, do your math and stuff like that. It really does lead to a better life. With lack of education, this also leads to misinformation. And when the person is uneducated, they believe in the misinformation. They can't distinguish from from good news and fake news. And they definitely go out, and there's a definite better chance that they go out there and they're gonna share that on social media. So they're spreading that disinformation. So again, this is all from the lack of education. With the lack of education, it leads to loss of values and morals in our society, which is very important. We don't see this anymore, or if we do, it's very, very minimal. You know, it's, I still walk by everybody and smile and say hi. I think that's part of morals and values. You know, helping your neighbor, volunteering, learning what's good and bad. It's a definite social problem, which is from a lack of education. I think the one of the worst parts from the lack of education is the leading to a higher chance of drug dependency. And it's not for just talking marijuana. We're talking coke, heroin, meth, you know, whatever is hard available, stealing pills, you know, it leads to, with that drug dependency, you know, it leads to a rising crime, both retail and personal crimes. You know, like I said, it leads to theft. It leads to domestic violence. When you're uneducated, it leads to even worse. It could lead to homicide. And all this leads to incarceration, which again is a major drain on our resources for society. You know, there's so much more that we could be doing to get people to learn how to read, to stay in school. These are the things that are going to change our society. And with that, we get a better, more educated society. These people one day are, unfortunately or fortunately, are going to be leading and taking control of the United States one day. These people, not the uneducated, but it could be. I mean, we have George Santos in, so you never know how it's going to be, but you would hope that we get smart, intelligent people to running our country. And those are the people that will be staying in school, getting a good education, not being a drain on our system. You know, again, literacy is a big part, believe it or not. There's a lot of people out there that have a low reading capacity or none at all. And when you can't read, I can't even imagine not being able to read. Of course, all this leads to a more vulnerable society. Our society deserves so much more. Education is key to a better life because it teaches how the world works and it helps build self-confidence. And that is, again, a huge part of where we are in our society. You know, when you read, it opens your minds up from a young person. It lets you see how things work. It lets you dream. It teaches you so much. It lets you escape wherever you're at for that little bit. it improves your vocabulary. It does so much for you. So I guess I want to dedicate this video to reading, because that will help build our society stronger. We'll get more educated people. And I think that's just, I think it's so important. And I wanted to say thank you very much for tuning in. This is a GDS Video Productions. Please hit the like button and subscribe. And God bless the USA.